Welcome, welcome very, very much to Conversation. A great pleasure to welcome to the program a dear friend of mine in the universe, and she's been a guest often on the Conversation series, as well as other public access programs and other programs, and that's Colia Clark. And she's a civil rights pioneer from the get-go, from way back, very concerned about improving the human condition and about bringing elemental justice and even profound justice to the world. And Colia, so good to have you here. Welcome so much again to Conversation.
Harold, it's always wonderful, delightful and wonderful to be with you. So thank you for the invite, and I'm here.
Yeah, and I'm glad to hear because you got, as usual, you've been all kinds of busy in that kind of thing, and you've got all kinds of, we're in the election season for the presidential election just kicking off. We just had the Iowa caucus. We're going to have, I think, tomorrow, is it? The New Hampshire primary,
yes.
And that's off into the election campaign for the presidency of the United States of America, a major turning point in that kind of thing. And this is part of the context in which we're talking. But you've also been doing work on your own behalf, and I know, among other things, you've got this new initiative that you're involved with having to do with violence, a symposium on violence.
On judicial violence, yes.
Judicial justice, judicial violence symposium, which is major. But given all of that, we'll get up to that. Do in a simple, in a thumbnail kind of way, you've been involved with the public, with the civil rights and with the justice issues right from the get-go. It seems to me you came out of the womb fighting. It seems to me.
I had a charge to keep, Harold.
Yeah, yes, right.
I was born in a place and in a time where one didn't have choices.
Yeah, right.
Your choice was to live with a set of conditions in Mississippi, born in central Mississippi at Jackson, near Jackson. In the woods at Dry Grove. At a time when there was no such thing as an African having human rights in the United States. Not really.
Right.
And so Mississippi was clear about its position.
Mississippi
law say stop. That used to be the huge sign before you got to the railroad stop. Or when you came into the state of Mississippi, you get that welcome to Mississippi. And you see that little Klan sign up there, and you knew where you were. So Mississippi law say stop, you stop. So I started out very clear that if I had choices, I could follow the Satisfied group, and Mississippi had set up a sovereignty commission. And the black brothers who worked for that sovereignty commission would travel all over this country and other parts of the world talking about Mississippians being satisfied. Black Mississippi was satisfied. We were satisfied with our condition as it were.
Are these the black people talking?
These are black men talking.
All of this kind of thing. Everything seems to be okay now, right?
Yes,
that
that's
kind
right.
of thing? Yeah.
That's right. This is not only black men, but if we had class at that time, this would have been typically the upper class. The upper structure.
Upper within that group.
Yeah, within that group. Within
the
black
group. There's always been groups like that all through human history where there's been oppression throughout human history.
Every oppressive system has the enemy that it oppresses. It takes from them groups that represent the left, the right, and the center. So they have their moderates, or they'll have their radicals out of it, but they will all ultimately serve the interest of the political group, the system, and in this case of Mississippi or the United States of America. That's just reality.
That's a pattern.
It's a way of ruling.
Yeah, it's a pattern throughout the whole of human history. It would seem.
Yes. So growing up at a time and not being at all respectful of these and not knowing who they were, really, that was the other thing, because they were there, but we didn't see them. I didn't see them until I was in Chicago, and I was shocked to see this one man out talking about how satisfied we were in Mississippi. But had some, and that was the summer of '64, the wrong time to be talking. I had some choices. I grew up in a family that prepared me to make those choices because they stood for something.
You had a real feisty grandfather.
Oh, yeah, really feisty grandfather. And mama.
Right.
Especially my granddaddy. He was not only feisty, he was a pistol-toting pastor. So, but I grew up with that, and so I knew that I had some responsibilities.
Right.
I could look for a job, and certainly wouldn't be in the state of Mississippi because it didn't have any jobs for black women.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy.
If you got a job teaching, you were making $90, well, first $30 a month, and there was a big struggle among black teachers to get their salary increased to $90 a month in the early 50s, and of course it was crushed. So women.
How did that stack up with national standard? I mean, it's hard because you got inflation and these kind of things.
But let's remember the time period. In the time period, if you wanted to get a job, you left the state of Mississippi, you wanted to go to Chicago. Because Chicago's annual salary was $5,000 for social workers and $5,000 for school teachers. Mississippi is below $2,000. So
so a big difference.
So it's a big difference. So you wanted to get a degree and go to Chicago as a woman.
It was that part of the thing that going back a little bit in time called the Great Migration, people moving north.
Well, yeah,
they
people
came up to Detroit, where I lived.
Yes, right. That began in the 1890s. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the slow rise. Then World War II, with the coming of industries that blacks could work for, was a big increase. And then, of course, World War II, you would see continuing. Mississippi lost in that last 10 years, because Mississippi's ratio of black to white was 3-to-1, 3 blacks to every white during the slavery and immediately afterwards. But with the migration period, that shifted to almost even. And now I think it must be about 52 or 53% white to a little over 40% black. But not the same as was, except for the Mississippi Delta, which is still overwhelmingly black. So you had choices. I mean,
women How do we account for that? How do we account for where they were? It had to do with the plantation system that had this thing called slavery that was there in the South.
Yes.
And how in the world, why was it that we had slavery in North America, but we seem not to have had slavery in Europe, such as we did?
Well, Europe had slavery.
Europe had fiefdoms, and they had serfs.
Slavery as well. Africans came up through.
But they didn't have slavery like plantation slavery like
I don't know how they arranged it, but there was some towns with as much as 30,000 Africans who were slaves in Europe. Because they came up doing
Is that right?
Oh, yes, there's no doubt about it. Europe had slaves.
No,
Africans are also prior to.
What time period you talking
about? We're talking about the coming into the it had to be coming into like the 14th, 15th century.
Oh, back that way.
Yeah, the 12th century. Oh, no, they were there. Africans had been there. You know, when Europeans arrived, the white Europeans arrived. Remember, Africans are already there. This is Europa's land. This is the House of Scotta when you go to Buckingham, Killingham Palace, and Scotland gets its name from Scotta, which is the daughter of Pharaoh.
Wait a minute, you talking about Scotland?
I'm talking about Scotland. I'm talking about the land that we don't talk about. I'm talking about issues we don't talk about.
My grandmother was from Edinburgh.
Yeah, well, my father's white ancestors are Scot, and probably his great grandmother is also from Scotland, but via North Africa.
But I know there were some jazz guys and everything that at the time of First World War and that they would go to Europe because they said the only thing that Mr. Pershing brought to Europe was Jim Crow. They brought Jim Crow to Europe, and they had a better time of it in Europe as artists and so forth, and they could go and live in Europe in a way where they weren't getting the same kind of nonsense that they would have gotten in the United States.
No, not by no means, and oftentimes misunderstanding of what racism was. So Africans in the U.S. had to teach Africans in Europe what racism was. And that's true for the islands too, for the most part, because people did saw racism.
For the what? Ireland?
For the Caribbean.
Oh, Caribbean. Oh, okay, you're right. Okay, that's another place where there was plantation.
That's
culture,
right, plantation system, but run by managers as opposed to the man himself. So you had somebody management system. You owned it. You were in London or wherever. You owned the place, but you were not there. You had managers down there. So it's a whole different set of attitudes and drama that occurs when it's the manager and not the boss.
I guess that is true.
There's no doubt about it. But we must understand that Africa was being pulled out of Africa 11th, 12th century, and they're going to Europe. But then when you begin to look at the wars between Christianity and the Muslim states, and with the Muslim
After
empire,
700,
we'll understand when they invade in North Africa. And those invasions are taking away black folk out of North Africa. So you'll get the emergence of this new way of seeing the world as the invasions take place. But oftentimes, if you see pictures and whatever, cartoons and whatever, you see white folk But these folk are black Africans, brown Africans, yellow Africans, whatever Africans had at that time. Colors coming. So, what does Nikki Giovanni has a wonderful piece where she talks about the great emperor when he conquers Rome on Mother's Day. You know, he say gave his mama Rome for Mother's Day. Hannibal. But these are black figures and brown figures of the North Africa. Africa has all the colors. Probably always have had. We know, hey, if you got ancestors going back 60,000 years, we know they've always had all the colors.
Well, but, I did. I told you I had my DNA. I think they're gonna. Well, we're all African.
Yes.
Did you see they found a link? It was just recent, in the last 3 or 4 months. They had a thing reported, Nova and other things, reliable sources, that they found in the country of South Africa, in a deep cavern that was very hard to get to. I mean, just physically with the rock formations and so forth. They got a number of anthropological students of the female gender, partly because they were smaller and they could fit down and get down into this cavern, where there were a lot of remnants, fossil records of the end. They were able to get it, the end of the Australopithecine line, which had been the one that was Lucy, that Leakey had found 4 to 7 million years ago. That was a line up which we had come in the evolution. If an evolutionary process, and that it was not from that line, that we have evolved. We evolved from Homo erectus, but there was found in proximity to that a link to the earliest beginning of the Homo erectus, out of which Homo sapien, us all, were to emerge. And they just got that new development where
so older than the one in Chad, 7 million years back.
Well, no, that would be likely to be, if I may, that would more likely be Australopithecine. That is a form of that was not Homo sapien. We were evolving up the primate line to where we were to come to Homo sapien. We came with Homo sapien. We're all from one ancestor, and we come from Homo erectus.
Yeah. Well, that was a suggestion that this 7 million year old one.
Well, that would have been Homo. That would probably.
I don't know Homo who, but he was Homo.
No, Homo. There were a number of.
Yeah, I know, but this find is a greater find actually, and we haven't dealt with it because it said 7 million years. The one at Lake Chad, because it ran a separate stream from the one that was in Ethiopia. Very separate kind of a stream, but both of them apparently were humanoid, if you want to say that.
Well, they're humanoids. Yeah, there have been a number of humanoids.
But this one appeared to be as advanced as the other one. Yeah. And we need to be asking what happened to that find. Had it been around 2010, when they were also releasing for the first time the find from Brazil, of the African woman that they found there, that they say the island hopped, the speculation was the island hopped from Australia to Brazil around 12,000 BC. Around 12,000 BC. So what I'm saying is that they have these finds, but we need to be asking questions. You tell us about it, then it disappears. And there seems to be this whole emphasis on trying to remove everything to South Africa for some reason. I've been trying to figure that out because that's a long ways from Ethiopia.
Well, it's not that far. I mean, it is kind of,
thousands of miles from Ethiopia. But it's still the Rift Valley. I mean,
it's been a long period of understanding how we came to be as a species. Yeah. But I think it's pretty much settled pretty now.
I don't know, but Harold, when I was growing up in Mississippi, I was very clear that there was two species. One was insane.
Oh, right.
Now, that is not to say that all whites in Mississippi were insane. They weren't. They were controlled just like we were.
Well, that's all controlled by the normal things that affect politics and so forth, of which we are heir to. We have all these things, and it's a system that is being challenged. I guess it's 200,000 years ago that we emerged. The species. This is what the common ancestry understanding is. That would be 10,000 generations that we've been here in our various forms, and we've come to a point where we're coming to the end of that whole 200,000 year period. now in the time in which we live. It seems a little strange that we would be in that kind of a position, but we're at a time of qualitative transformation, not just quantitative, little steps up a ladder. We're coming to a time of a qualitative, almost like speciation moment.
Yeah, especially in the sciences. My apologies, Harold. Let me turn the phone off. I thought
By
I
all
had
means,
it off.
yeah.
My apologies here. Wait a minute.
That's all right.
But
that's a nice ringtone.
Yeah, but sorry, audience. It's my daughter too. Got to call my daughter back. I got to call Colia 2 back.
Yeah, okay.
Excuse me, Colia 3.
Colia 2.
If I call her, but they're.
How many Colias be there? I don't think there's any but one Colia.
On my mama's side, I'm Colia 2.
No, you're
my
Colia
mom
2.
is Colia 1. My daughter is Colia 3, and her daughter is Colia 4. And she better get a Colia 5.
But it's a lot of Colias. You got a whole coterie of Colias. Yeah. You could have a whole chorus.
There's got to be these
chorus of Colias. Yeah.
But the first ones came in. The grandmama came in 1848.
Yeah.
Somewhere West Central Africa, probably.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of Colias. When you look at Colia, you notice that these totems are all over Africa. Togo, Liberia. I was just talking with a brother this couple of weeks ago, a week ago, with Jomai, who's setting up this Federation of African States.
Yeah.
And he said, "No, you're a Jollof Colia." I said, "No, the Wolofs told me I was a Wolof Colia."
Oh.
They're both from Senegal, but the Wolof are the big group, and the second group, of course, is the Jollofs. So they're trying to get me to the Jollofs, and I wasn't going to let them give me away. So
Senegal, they had a guy, Abdullah Wade,
yes,
was the president of that. It's on West Africa.
Yeah, West Central,
yeah,
yes,
right.
yes.
That's near where...
it's Senegal, where they had the great... right off of the great Gorée Island there.
Yeah, right.
Major
you got people going back to there, is that it?
I'm sure that I don't know whether it's Senegal, but somewhere in that region,
yeah,
I think that this grandmother
West
came
Africa,
from.
Yeah. West Africa, north.
Katie, with a very mean spirit. Very pleasant person with a very mean spirit. But it was her first daughter was Colia.
And then again, over throughout the whole of the human society, once you get to civilization, what about 8,000, 10,000 years ago, when you get agriculture?
15,000 years ago plus, my grandmothers on the North Africa was giving us agriculture.
Really?
That's 15? About 15,000 years ago.
Really? Talk to me about that.
When we talk about North Africa, and I know we may find these things elsewhere, Harold. That's why,
right.
That's why I'm raising the question about, this thing with man begins here and we got this. And then you find another find and it's 7,000. You say, oh, it's equal to the other one, but we don't explain. Because I think that what we have to understand is we may find out that life didn't begin when we thought it begun, and that agriculture begun in another period. How about 15,000 years ago, North Africa, women, actually it's women, who began to cultivate the land, probably to feed their children.
But
we have to look at that. But then we also have to look at supposedly buried beneath the desert, and that you could get it from the satellites when they were going up. All of these cities and towns, and how old are they?
Oh, there was a period.
Yeah, because how long ago has the Sahara been under?
Yeah, well, they got all that fossil water.
That's right. How did that happen?
I think from Pleistocene.
That's right. So we really have to raise serious questions, because apparently when the Sahara was a sea, there was also towns and cities around it. So we have to look at that. But 15,000 years ago, you get the great the translations, of course, and I got mine from Wallace Budge. Wallace Budge is a great British historian. He has a wonderful work on Osiris, talking about the Osirinization of the world's religions, or the Asaru for those people who are some forms of Egyptians. But that the religions extended out of what we know as Nubia, Kemet, what today would be the Hebrew regions. If you were talking about Ethiopia, everything begun here. In terms of the religions of the world, and they spread out across the world. People came in and they took with them, as we still do, things all over. Take them back to places, then after a while you think it's your own.
Yeah, right.
But he was talking about that, and he quotes this great goddess, and I just love it.
Yeah, what is the quote?
I am that which I am. I am the beginning. I am the end. I am the first, and she must have been talking to a man, but she said, I am the last, and I will be when there is no more. Sounds like she was having an argument, you know?
Yeah, right.
She's getting the record straight.
Yeah, right.
But it's in this period also that you get the evolution of agriculture.
Well, yeah, it's called the Neolithic Revolution. You know, I think, that's interesting. I got it about 10,000 years ago. But you say 15.
No, 10,000 years ago, people would run across the deserts with with chariots.
Well,
7,500 years ago, running across the deserts with chariots and stuff. So you got to be. You're not going to be running no chariots and you don't have no food or some system for developing.
No, they were. If the record is if it's 10,000 generations or if it's 200,000 years ago we appear, then there were most of that time we were wandering and gathering. You know, we didn't have agriculture. Agriculture is when we learned we could make food and grow food and grow this thing. And so that was the beginning of civilization. As we think of civilization,
yeah, well, I'm saying you go back to that desert, to that northern desert. Go back to those women in that northern desert. All right.
You got 15,000 year date on that? Yeah, on that culture in North Africa?
They were dated at 15,000.
15,000
and you know,
way
these
back.
dates, that ain't
Seems
so
to
far
me
back
far
when we
way
begin
back.
to look back.
Yeah, okay.
How old was the Kemetic empires? How old were the old empires? These empires, we're redating them now, but those empires lasted 5,000 and 6,000 years.
Well, okay, I got to get myself caught up on some of that.
Yeah, so we have to go back, and I think we may have to go back to the Anu and all of those tribes that were there in those very early days to begin to talk about that period of history.
All right, fair enough.
But then when you come to West Africa, you notice that there's also this development that nobody's talked about.
What's that?
And you got the development, also evidence that people came from east to west or west to east, whichever, of the development of major areas of civilization. You get the round buildings in Zimbabwe. You get even, I understand recently that there's more evidence of places in the Ghana area, moving up there through Nigeria, of these older civilizations that would be as old as the one on the East Coast. So we need to begin to, I think, relook at.
Yeah, well, it would be good.
Otherwise, we need to throw out those German historians and geographers and stuff that time period, because you know everything. We went back to the 1850s forward. We're looking through their lenses at the world, and we haven't tossed it all out. We tossed it out around the issue of slavery when we tossed out those slave historians, and we had an evolution of another group of historians after the Civil War. You get Kenneth Stamps and those groups coming forward, seeing slavery through a different lens.
Yeah.
And I think we have to do that for all of
you have to keep an open mind as
scholarly work.
Because
we're getting all of this wonderful stuff, but I'm not too sure that they pulled it out of the philosophical realms where it used to be. We need to now come forward and begin to talk about a new group of young scientists who are historians and archaeologists and whoever, in terms of how we philosophically look at time periods and be able to aggressively come forward with something that's very, very new.
And scientific.
Oh, and got to be scientific.
Yeah, because they got ways of dating these things and everything with an accuracy that we can't deny in terms of that. But once you've got civilization, it means civil city dwelling, or the ability to have cities and culture when you had a surplus of food from agriculture, whether it was in West Africa or wherever.
Yeah, people gather in larger units, and the crafts and all of that begins.
Yeah, but what you did have is you had then a situation where the people were in more or less smaller units and so forth, or living maybe just in family units. Montague writes really well on monotheism and also on pair bonding and that kind of stuff that seemed to be characteristic of the times. But when you got to be where you had civilizations, where you had a surplus of food, and once you had a surplus of food from agriculture, you can make your own food rather than just find food as you wander, which was a lot for a good deal of the time when the species was here. Ever since they've done that, they've got civilizations, and ever since then you find out you have people who you get a leader, a king or a leader who is able to assert himself, and political legitimacy for a civilization or for a group is done by whoever's got the biggest army or the ability to conquer others, and that they set up a thing where you got a ruling class. And then they have people, soldiering that protects them. They set up then creation stories, and they set up, bureaucracies and PR to assert their legitimacy. Is the way political legitimacy is assumed. It's called realpolitik in the modern experience.
Yeah, we can see it.
It's got the biggest club.
Yeah, we see that in Kemet. However, if you go to looking at African...
Or in the history of the world.
Yeah, if you look at African religion and philosophy, you raise some real serious questions, probably also for Chinese, probably also for indigenous societies, even in the West. you begin to raise serious questions about how those modes of thought came to be. Because Africa had what you call the instillment. You couldn't rule unless the whole society, of adults, of course, decided that you could do so. They would instill you, but they could also take the
stool. Is the word?
You could sit on the stool.
Oh, stool.
On the stool.
Oh, in stool. Okay,
and
I haven't heard that. Yeah, that's
and if they didn't like you, they'd take you off the stool.
Well, that'd be like
all right. So I am because we are I am. These cultures are a lot different from these other cultures that we're talking about, where you got this one up here.
Well, you had a Nebuchadnezzar, you had a Pharaoh.
Oh, you had all of those folks, but those folks are way. I suspect they're way down the line, and that's why I'm saying. Yeah. So when you look at African religious and thought, and you begin to look at people talking about an I am because we are a democratic really piece.
Oh, yeah.
Because this is a piece where consensus is the decision making.
That's interesting. If there could be examples like that were civilized
throughout.
Yeah.
Because the civilized piece also comes from those other historians who are coming in and assigning value, where they probably should have left them at home. Because what happens is when we begin, you couldn't kill anybody. It was against the law to take a life.
You're talking now about religious.
I'm talking about traditional. I'm talking about traditional
in Africa.
Traditional African cultures that were disrupted.
Mm-hmm. Okay, they were
with the fall of Kemet. Mm-hmm. That would be the fall as they were coming in Ethiopia. Those ancient cultures. Yeah. As they're falling and other cultures are coming in, what they're discovering is this new group of people here who are, in terms of human development, have developed to a point where there are things that you cannot do and things you can do.
Yeah, yeah.
And so when I'm trying to remember the writer who talks about the coming of the European and the society is falling apart because what they took was the outcast. Mm-hmm. They came in and gave the outcast power. Well, the Europeans certainly could not have been first in doing that. But when you begin to look at indigenous cultures in Africa and looking at these philosophies, so even if you looked at Shaka Zulu, and you're now talking about coming into the 1500s, well, Shaka is the 1500s.
Yeah, that's recent.
And not allowed. In fact, Shaka is Shaka is the 1800s. He comes in the 1800s. Not allowed to kill anybody.
Just yesterday.
He can kill. He kills, and that's new. Mm-hmm. You can have a war, but your war is like these tribal dances, and who gets the best boogaloo on, and you get the best boogaloo on, then you're the ruler. Because all the people agree, I like that boogaloo best, even your people.
Explain to me what's a boogaloo.
I'm just using that in terms of dance or whatever you. Prancing or whatever, and I'm gonna get you.
Get it on.
But you don't do it. But Shaka didn't just do it. Shaka threw a spear.
Oh, he threw a spear.
And he took a life. Mm-hmm. And so that radicalizes to the point where Xhosa really hated for a long time to even think of Shaka. I was reading a book on a brother who was writing on Shaka in 1898. I can't remember his name, but it's one of the first books on Shaka. And this Xhosa brother just literally hated the man. Because they had not seen that level of violence before. So obviously South Africa, Tanzania, whatever you want to call it, those people were as much a part of the indigenous cultures of Africa as these other groups that's saying that I am because we are. That there's no such thing as an individual. Europeans
that's encouraging if that's the case.
This is the case,
There have been okay, maybe there's this is not a correct thing to see that civilization is associated with power.
Yeah, with this level of violence and power. Now it will be
violence and
because
power.
Because once one gets started,
and that's all over the world.
Yeah, once one gets started, once it gets started, and to counteract that, you can run to east to west if you want to, or north or south, but at some point you got to face it.
It's still
and so.
It still applies in the world today. Whoever's got the biggest gun is the one who rules.
That's right.
Power. It's called realpolitik.
That's right.
Not democracy or something like that.
No.
You can have. Then they say we had a democracy here, and you had all them slaves and things.
And so if you notice these African societies, when they get their independence, they don't kill the local folk who imprisoned them, who violated them. They don't kill them. Unfortunately, probably in some cases, though, I didn't say that, folk. I didn't say that, but if you look at Kenya, for example,
you mean
the Mau groups win. However, they don't go out and kill the British. They've tried to figure out how do we live together. So I'm saying that the evidence of the African thing can be seen in the way in which
Are you
the African...
trying to say the African thing is unique in human history?
No, it's not unique
or what?
in human history.
Or are there
I'm
other
saying that the
examples
African
of
thing is the
democracy?
last living example, along with the indigenous people of the West, of that thing that used to be, of what we used to be as human beings. So if you come here and you begin to look at the indigenous groups in the West, you'll notice they have the same thing. They have that same spiritual thing that says you don't go around killing people up.
Well, there's true.
You know?
And the more you have, well, I could cite, I mean, I've done a lot of work in that. I lived among the Aymara people.
Yes.
But the Inca were pretty fierce, cutting hearts out and so forth.
I'm sure so.
They were pretty fierce, and it seems to me that seems to be, well, there may be exceptions and so forth, but by and large, civilization is a matter of whoever's got the biggest club can rule. And then you set up you set up creation stories of your own to give you legitimacy, and you set up what's called PR in order to have your thing be the one, and it still rules the world today. What rules the world today? Who's ever got the biggest army is what matters.
That's
and
right.
Who's got the biggest economy?
In this hour
and who's
of
got
history,
the biggest ability to intimidate and bully other people
and to destroy the planet.
And that's that's in.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to argue that. I'm not. That's not my argument. But I'm arguing that that was not just an exception. I think that there was a human period in the last actually 5,000 years. Very human.
5,000 is relatively
yeah,
well,
very young. When you look at this period and you look at these cultures and you look at their traditional philosophies, you look at the indigenous tribes of the West, and you can go right up here, to the Iroquois. Those people, they might have fought their neighbors, but on the other hand, you look at the systems that they have developed. You come in, you begin to look at the biggest group. I'm trying to remember the big group. They're all over the country.
You mean in the United States?
Yeah, in the U.S., in what we call the U.S. today. But when you look at them and you look at that culture and the way in which they treat each other, clan mothers, women with respect,
and then they were conquered. Yeah. They were conquered.
Yeah, conquered by outside
They
groups.
were conquered by outside.
Yeah,
well, that's the same.
And so
thing
when the European comes, he brings
the history
even
of the
more violent world.
It is a matter of conquering.
Why?
Is the way the system has gone. Well, then that's something to examine. And now you can find some exceptions to that. And there have been some things that you can find exceptions here and there if you want. But it's all that the weak are conquered by the strong.
Well,
and
we're assuming they're weak. And I'm going to say that the weak,
military
the strong
power.
The strong are conquered by the weak. So what we have come at a time when because the mind,
I don't understand that.
when I say that, people who can live together in harmony.
Yeah.
Are strong people, because that's hard to do.
Well,
your argument makes the case that it's hard to live together in harmony with others around you who may themselves develop this or develop that you got to go and take it. So what I'm saying is that we are seeing groups, if we really look at groups that come, and they usually take on, if we look at Egypt is a good example. You know, you get these invaders that come in, begin in 1800 BC, if the history is correct.
You're back to that then.
Right,
okay.
if we go 1800 BC, they come, and what do? They take the names of and the culture of the group that they just conquered.
Yeah.
To the point where folk go to thinking they were the same folk. So they become the Pharaoh. Pharaoh such and such and such and such and such and such. Then at some point they're thrown out, and then Kemet tries to reemerge itself and go back to the old, but it's hard to do. Right. Because once you have been brought down, it is very difficult to come back up.
Yeah, but those things about getting the ancient and this and the democracy, and that's part of PR. That's part of the PR that somebody will do. But essentially what has caused political ascendancy throughout the history of mankind has been whoever's got the biggest club.
I don't think so. I think that's the history.
You don't think so.
I think we talk about the history of Aryan mankind.
No.
And I want to go there because we can measure that. We can see that.
See what now?
We can see the last couple of thousand years very, very clearly.
Yeah.
But it just happens to be an Aryan period. And I'm not too sure if we went to ancient China that we're going to find that it is as dangerous as all of that.
Well, I think you do.
Well, you see some of it, ain't no doubt about it. I mean, I'm not questioning.
That's the pattern.
But I'm saying though that there seems to be people who look and see somebody else has got something and they want to take.
That's right. And that's been the pattern of the history of mankind.
And what I'm saying is that traditional Africa and many of the indigenous cultures of the West, and those are the ones that I'm familiar with.
You're trying to say
even coming into this time period. fought against that because they were the philosophies of the culture were so different.
Well, yeah.
So that I was not allowed to take a life. I couldn't even take my own life.
Well, I noticed they used to do
unless
that,
it was for good reason.
I know there was this guy Jesus who said, "Let's love everybody," and there was a guy Spartacus who said that, and they put him up on the cross. And
and Jesus also said, "I got a home someplace," and he was looking southward. Yeah, and his home was Ethiopia. Well, so I mean, we got to remember where he came from. Well, he said, "My mansion's there, and I go there to make a place for you." I'm happy. So I don't want to get into that out there in that future world because Jesus was a man that lived on earth.
Well, I'm happy there may have been some exceptions.
And he lived out Ethiopia.
There may have been some exceptions.
Out of the Ethiopian mountains.
No, there's been some exceptions.
Mansions there. But what I'm saying is that I don't think I just think that clearly we are looking at history in a time period.
Yeah, that's right.
And the time period in which we live defines it.
After the Neolithic, it's largely a matter of that pattern of whoever had the biggest club is the one who ruled and set it up. And then they sugared it up with creation stories that gave them a good take on things, a remembrance of how peaceful they were at one time, maybe they were, and that kind of stuff. But the overall pattern is realpolitik.
Yeah, but we're going to look at this judicial violence today.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm trying to get at now.
Yes, we want to get at it.
Is there anything, for one thing, if they're in a situation, an ontologic or a reality, a capability, there was always, in a certain sense, particularly if you look in the future tense, to let's say now or over the horizon, 20, 30, 40 years up into the future now, the capability born from what is the extended capability to bring technological development of the society and so forth. We were in a condition where there was what's called zero sum. In a collective sense, there was not enough. So if you're in a situation where there is scarcity, and that could be in an ontologic sense or in a reality sense, material sense, then for one to win, someone else has to lose. The fact that you had to have winners and losers was inherent in the condition that existed through our technological capability of providing life support. Well, that may be changing now.
I don't know that that's changing now. I think
that's the premise.
I think that that it is a good premise because what happens is now
premise
we have a possibility of going left or right. Derek Bell, the writer, and Derek Bell, the writer, he argues, and I believe that's in his piece of Race, Racism, and the
Derek or
Derrick, Derrick,
Okay.
Derek Bell.
Bell, okay.
Famous scholar. He was at Harvard, and they pushed him out because he pushed for women. They wanted them to have black women in the legal department, so they pushed him out. But Derek Bell had some very interesting things to say in Race, Racism, and the American Law for those who are interested.
Yeah.
And one of the things he argues is that every time you talk about the scarcity period, we're going to look at the history of the United States. Every time there's a scarcity period, and I'm labeling it scarce.
Ontologically, in a material sense, we have always been in a condition of scarcity relative to where we are at this moment. That's the premise.
Yeah, well, but what I'm arguing is from Derek Bell.
Transcending
whenever we go through periods where it seems that there is scarcity, there is great need. Black folk pay the price in the United States.
Well, the poor. No, the weak pay the price.
Black people pay the price.
The weak
I want to come back to that. We want to call them weak if you want to, because weak is a word that I'm scared of. But black people pay the price in the U.S.
I like the way you think, incidentally.
Yeah, I know that. Black people pay the price, and this is Bell's argument.
Yeah.
So whites, even poor whites, will gain at the point when that price is paid.
Yeah.
So if we look at the end of slavery, for example, we know the country had a Great Depression.
In this country.
In this country, 1825. We also have kind of a recession, a depression coming in 1859. And the end of slavery, because you got to create an industrial age. And the Industrial Revolution is obviously emerging in the U.S.
Right. That was a thing that was developing evolutionarily to where we are now. And it's moving forward.
That's right. I want to use it. Yes, that's
it's moving into a future what is qualitatively different than where we're coming from historically.
That's right. I want to go to that period because I think that when I look at what you put in front, it makes a lot of sense. Because when you look at this and the fact that black people pay the price, and Bell is looking at this just really oppression of us, oppression of black people. And then after the Civil War, which was where black people were supposed to be, in quote, freed, which was a joke. That was a joke. That's a joke. Right. So you get the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment, and you really never, ever get any real meaning added to it until 1964, 65. When
the man still rules.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But what happens is that Bell is looking at time period when immediately following the Civil War, Africans thinking they're free to had nothing, so how could you be free? You didn't have anything but the clothes on your back. If you had any clothes on your back, the rags on your back, nothing on your feet.
Awful.
But then now you are placed in the systems of peonage. You go through, because you have nothing. I mean, you have nothing. But neither did poor whites. So if you look at the Freedmen's Bureau that handled tens of thousands of black children who were said to be homeless, who were said to be without parent or whatever, they also had tens of thousands of white kids. Because there's been a war. There's been a war, so everything's
horrible
been ravaged.
600,000 dead.
Yes, I mean it's the ravishing of the area and the burning of much of the South. So
horrible.
To think about food and stuff, I don't know how anybody got through it alive. But black folk are now literally put back into slavery. Literally. And we get the emergence of states' rights and And so we assume that in 64, 65, that states' rights has come to an end. We assume that the states' rights in that, not state sovereignty now. They'll die if they shoot at me if I say state sovereignty.
Right. No,
but we assume that now there's been some balance created, and that black folk are going to now be able to be served by the law, equally served by the law. Equally served by the law under the Civil Rights Bill. Of course,
it didn't
by the early 1970s, we'll already have affirmative action knocked in the head coming out of California.
And you can look out the window this
day. You don't have to ask. Yes.
Same old bullshit.
Same old. Thank you. So if we go back there, then we look at the Voting Rights Bill, which was supposed to be another big moment.
God bless Ramsey Clark tried. He did it.
God, he worked his heart out.
He was a wonderful guy.
Worked his heart out. So when we look at these things and we look at what happens with them, we talk about these periods of scarcity.
Well, I think
who suffers?
I think, if I may, when I do that, I'm thinking about it's always been scarce until just yesterday.
But as far as the capitalist is concerned, it's scarce today.
No.
It is America. It was Ronald Reagan's agriculture.
I
understand what you're saying.
I'm not talking about a perception or a projection. I'm talking about a reality. A reality or the ontology is a capability.
Sure. Of being able to produce it.
No.
In fact, we have it.
No.
But you and I are not going to eat it.
Well, I would agree with that, if I may, that we have already at the level of capability.
Sure.
That takes learning. That takes understanding. That takes investment. That takes actual existing technological systems and so forth like that. We have transcended on a percentage basis the world population within an ecological context. There are more haves and have-nots at the level of capability for the first time only since about the year 1970. We're going through that transformation now.
But what I'm saying to you, Harold, is let us put it where real is, because real is that the people in this country who are starving to death miss that reality.
No, it hasn't.
Around the world, missed that reality. America has no reason not to be able to feed the hungry.
You're not talking about the reality, and that you're talking about the capability. There's a difference.
I understand the capability.
Like in climatology, it's latent heat. It's latent. It's there. It's there. We've got that. We've made that transformation already. We're already there. But we have a heritage of 200,000 years of scarcity that our institutions are still the way in which we think, the way we talk, the way we set up.
I don't buy that, Harold. I don't think that I think that we have come here. Ronald Reagan's man standing in Cancun, Mexico. His agriculture. The chair of the agriculture, commissioner of agriculture, whatever his name was. I can't remember the man's name now. But he was very clear that America would use food as a weapon. Food as a weapon.
All right? Use food as a weapon. Those are remnants of the past. Those are remnants of the past. They're not.
They're what people live today.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying to you.
We live.
And what I'm saying to you is I don't think it's because of scarcity. I just think that the nature of capitalism is that you have to have scarcity so that you can control. So whatever little power you develop, You develop it and you hold it over here.
Okay, well, that's the thing.
And everybody got to come begging at your door.
Yeah, I could see where people could set up a system. That would be part of the PR thing to make people think that way and everything like that. And then you've got facts and figures that can undergird.
And we're doing that with the world.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to say is there's been a transformation.
I agree with you. I'm not disagreeing with you.
At the level, it's not the reality. The reality is unjust. It always has been unjust. There are people who are enslaved. There are people that are not allowed to realize
I don't know that I accept all of that argument, Harold. I want to deal with the here and now. We've got it now. Okay. And we know now.
That's the here and now that
we can deal with the last. We can deal with the last 600 years. We can be clear about that. But what we can say about the last 600 years, and I don't want to put the 2,000 years burden on the back of the last 600 years. I want to deal with who we are, where we've come from. And when I look at judicial violence, and I see it on both sides. We got this criminal justice piece over here in America.
Yeah,
on the other side, we got the civil piece, and that's really the piece you're talking about, is the civil piece.
No,
and that is a piece where people are denied access to the basic resources of the society.
No. All that you're saying, I understand.
I know.
That's the reality. You're talking about reality.
Yes.
I'm not talking about reality. I'm talking about latent reality. I'm talking about capability that has qualitatively transformed the time in which we live.
I understand that it has, Harold. And
the world doesn't understand that.
I think the world understands that.
The institutions are all based upon a condition where there wasn't nearly enough. The historical context, we are transcending now in our lifetime.
I'm saying we can transcend it now, but I think the real issue is, Harold, is that the world understands the food is there. They see it.
No, I don't think they do adequately. They still based upon our whole politics is based upon zero-sum.
Our politics is not the world, though.
No, but it's a large part of it. And our perceptions.
157 bases sitting in countries of the world. Yeah, that is a large part. That's gonna make you have a lot of thoughts that you didn't want to have.
Well, when you get to a point, like I said to you before, darling, when you get to a point where the weapon systems that have been the basis for political legitimacy throughout all of history, from Rome and right on through most of all of it in there, and the strong can conquer the weak as they've done, and conquer them and slave them and do whatever they want and so forth, that the weapon systems are what are basic to that, the ability to have that advantage. Those weapons have become now species lethal. They can wipe out the entire
That's right,
species.
wipe out. So,
now, that's something new. It's only been there since about 70. Couldn't do it in the Second World War.
No,
we were impotent at the level of the species.
After the Second World War, no question, the age of atomic diplomacy.
We were impotent to destroy the species.
Yeah, I'm saying that the atomic diplomacy issues in a
only
new age,
since about 1970. That's only yesterday. That's only yesterday that we made this transformation in capability. On the other side, the ability that we have to provide for everyone in a have-like way has been also transformed along about the same year, about 1970. The modeling of it, we've transcended at a level of capability, not the reality. We've got an inherited reality that is all around us with all kinds of outdated thinking and everything out of a period that's being qualitatively transformed, like leaving the womb.
Well, it's like listening to the president election, and I turn on and I try not to listen to him too long because I'd be throwing at the TV.
Yeah, I understand. We understand. Yeah, right.
But what I'm real clear about is that we have those folk there with all those latent realities, and they're holding on to it for dear life.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would agree with you 100%.
Yeah, and they're called leaders. And they're leaders, and they're taking the same old arguments and everything that have been used out of history and so forth.
Well, I want to tell your viewers, y'all had better get up and get up, viewers, and get rid of those folk, because we cannot continue to have the Trumps or the Bushes or the Clintons. We can't. Sanders is a little more progressive. I mean, he's a lot more progressive, actually. But we can't afford to continue with that kind of thinking.
Well, I would agree with that, yeah.
Because that's the kind of thinking that will lead folk to push off bombs while we're fooling with North Korea and pushing them. And they're saying, look, you got one, I want one too. Everybody wants one. Pakistan wants one. Afghanistan, I'm sure, wants one if they could get one. Yeah. Everybody wants one.
Yeah.
And then we scream, we got tons of them, and we scream, I don't want you to have one.
Yeah.
I want them to all get on the same ship.
The history of the world.
I want them all to get on the same ship, spaceship.
Yeah.
And I want to get some guarantees we can send them a little bit beyond Mars.
The warmongers.
Yes, they go by. We'll see. No, take all your weapons with you.
We've been talking all that.
I love you, Harold.
But I love you, darling. But the thing is, this symposium Now, that's a thing that's really important because you're going to get at a lot of these issues that still are lingering. And so let's talk. It's down in Princeton. It's going to be.
It's going to be at Princeton.
Bring it up. Bring it up.
Well, we're talking about a judicial violence symposium that's going to be scheduled for Princeton Theological Seminary, Black Church Studies.
Yeah, right.
Sponsored by Black Church Studies in Princeton Theological Seminary. That will be July the 30th through August the 2nd.
That's 3 or 4 days.
Yes, we're going to be there. We're bringing experts, specialists, activists, people who have been doing the work, who are truly serious scholars. And by scholar, I mean scholar doesn't mean that you have a PhD necessarily.
No,
but people who have seriously been doing the work and we've studied the work to Princeton. 100 is what we are proposing, to come together to begin to rethink all of the issues that you and I talked about and other issues, but certainly the issues of civil rights and what has happened since 1964 when the Civil Rights Bill came.
Wait a minute, is that the date you've come to? You're trying to link to 64?
Well, that's the Civil Rights. 64 is the major date, but we're going all the way back to 1865. So we will be going back to the 13th Amendment, 14th Amendment. But we wanted to. You need a pivotal point of where you can link.
I think the pivotal point is going to come out to be 1970.
Well, we might come up. We might come to 70.
That's where it's going to be found. That's when there was a qualitative transformation going on.
And we're going to be very close to that. But we're going back to the so-called the law itself. And then we will be saying we're going all the way back because our task is to get back to 1905 because we're looking at genocide. And we're going to be looking, so therefore, at the criminal justice system, looking at this legal system, this police madness, these killings all over the place. We're looking at the targeting more and more black and brown women. The killing of more and more black and brown women. But we're really.
Is that a true fact?
Yeah, that's a fact. I mean, in fact,
the trend?
Yeah, the trend is toward getting rid of women, period. But we're also looking at low birth weight babies. We're looking at all of these health issues that are associated, and we're looking at them, of course, from their civil side. A society that has not addressed. And we just had the UN rapporteurs come here. And they were here from the 19th of January through the 29th
here
of January.
In New York,
they were in New York for a day. They were in Washington, D.C.
Now, who is that?
The Human Rights Commission's reporters, rapporteurs.
Right.
And they went around collecting data. They was here. America welcomed them in, gave them access to much of what they needed. And so they traveled the country, collecting information.
Yeah.
And what we have of the wee bits we have yet, and it's still a wee bit, but it's scary. Yeah. They praised that the little progress that the nation has made, but then they looked at where we are really now in terms of the African community and the brown community in the U.S. With special focus on the black community.
Yeah, right.
But you know that we're looking at at mass killings, looking at incarceration rates.
Are you including the indigenous population?
They didn't, because I think the assumption is that they already did, and that's one of the things that scares the hell out of me.
Yeah.
Because it's a very frightening thing, and Kevin Arnett's workers is just. We've got to continue to push him. He's coming in too, by the way.
Kevin's coming back.
He's coming back. He'll be back here next month. I'll be in touch with you about the dates because he wanted to make sure that he was treatment of the to talk about what's happening now. You know, Canada finally admitted that to the genocide.
Yeah.
But that's just like the Pope saying, you know, we decimated Africa, we took out all these slaves, and we're so sorry.
Right.
Hallelujah. But we're at that point where, with the Judicial Violence Committee, where we were using the UN's report because they have done a lot of the research we would have to be doing in terms of talking with people, specialists, talking with organizers, talking with community leaders around in the cities that they visited.
Right.
And Chicago was one of those cities. Looking at that police and then the hiding out of material that should have been given to the public, evidence of what had happened with these situations. Yeah. Looking at the Eric Garner case, he's a man shot for some darn cigarettes.
Yeah, right.
I mean, not shot, but
what do they call them? Singles, or what do they call them?
Lucy's.
Lucy's.
Got Lucy, Miss Goosey.
Absurd. It's terrible. And then it's just a whole series of things like that.
Oh yes, I mean, but you know, you look at Eric Garner and the Lucy's, a man who was thrown down, choked, literally
can't breathe,
choked to death.
They filled our street on 36th Street with a whole block full of people saying, we can't breathe.
Can't breathe,
Can't breathe.
Literally, and Shaka said 34th too, because he was down. He said, Mama, I know these businesses are losing a lot of money. Yeah. But, you know, you got a man down on the ground. You kill him for what?
Yeah.
Selling
A cigarette.
We couldn't have but 20 cigarettes in a pack.
Yeah.
I mean, come on now.
Yeah.
Selling his looses. I don't know how much they sell for today, but I smoked for 19 and a half years. Stopped in 82, thank God. But
congratulations.
Hey, I went cold turkey, brother. I decided I'd punish myself.
Cold turkey.
I punished myself. But my point is this: you kill him, and you shoot others for what?
Yeah, no, the others.
For the same crime. On the other hand, you provide hundreds of billions of dollars to people for junk bonds, mortgage foreclosures, bank screaming that they talk about they can't fail and while they get bigger now than ever. But in the meanwhile, they get hundreds of billions of dollars for killing up everybody. I mean, what's wrong with this society?
Well, it's the history. There's a lot.
So
it's
we
want a historical.
We're looking at that. We're gonna look at housing. We're looking at education. But my most important piece, the UN represents also makes a statement that America needs to talk about reparations. And one of the panels that we will be having will be the brother from the Tillery, and I hope you get him on your show at some point, Dr. Marcus Tillery, who's also now.
He's in New York. He's in New York.
He was at Princeton. He's very young. He's in his 50s. Yes.
Yeah, I think I've done a program with him. I think in the past.
Dr. Marcus Tillery, his family is from the Tillery family out of Greensboro, out of North Carolina, Tillery, North Carolina, who are among the few Africans in this country that actually got the 40 acres and a mule. About 300 of those families, because they got it after Lincoln made it, they moved.
Stop the presses.
Before Lincoln
got 3 acres and the mule.
But about 300 of them. But and there were several others in the country who got it as well. But these are, and I'm just finding out about them. I'm jealous.
You're jealous.
I want my 40 acres, and I damn sure want my mule. But you know, as soon as Johnson, it was in a Lincoln, Abraham Lincoln had an executive order. So the UN was suggesting the reparations be dealt with.
Right, yeah. That should get there.
That should not even be an issue.
That did that? There was a guy who was pursuing that reparations.
There are a number of people that pursued that.
There was a guy really.
If you go back if you go back to the 1950s, you'll get the We Charge Genocide group coming up, and they will be screaming reparations. And then you will be followed by Malcolm X, who will take reparations issued to the United Nations. So there have been a number of groups. And then in recent years, there have been a goodly number of people who are out here. But I'm saying that these will be some of the issues that are going to come to the judicial violence enforcement. But look for July 30th, August the 2nd.
Right.
Princeton Theological Seminary.
Chairman.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, great.
So now, I'm one of the coordinators. There are 4 of us.
Yeah. We got the tyranny of time. We've run out of time, darling.
I know. I'm looking at that, but I love you, Harold. I can't talk. I love to come because I love Harold.
Yeah, I love Jolie. I love Colia. Your pleasure. Thank you for viewing. Thank you for tuning in. We'll be coming back again tomorrow. Thanks for coming in, darling. We got to keep talking like this.
We have to. I mean, this is how we get the work done, and this is why we want the judicial.
Yeah, but they're going to.
We know it's going to be a lot of this.
Listen, we're going to be 86 out of here.
Are you going to be 86 this year?
We're going to be 86. So we got to go. Thanks for viewing. We'll be coming back tomorrow.
All right.
I
love you, brother.
I love you.
Let me get up and get this up and get this stuff out of here.
Let's go.
Well, you got another show following this one, right?
I do. That was the guy talking about Jeremy Rifkin's take on all this. Yeah. That'll be something you can see in action.
I really